morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, October 31st, 2016. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Steve Helwagen here on Halloween. Steve, one thing that's very scary about this Ohio State team, they are 97th in the country in yards per completion. There are 128 teams in the country. Ohio State is 97th in yards per completion. Our Duane Long started a thread about this last night on the front row message board. I mean, you see this stat, and it's not shocking because we know this passing offense isn't good, but yards per completion, 97th in the country. So even when they're completing passes, Steve, they're not getting very many yards, and they're not completing that many passes.
No, I think you make a good point. You watch them play against Northwestern this past weekend, and you say, well, Northwestern, is middle of the road team. They're down 4-4, and had they not stumbled, once or twice earlier in the season, they'd have a winning record, obviously. But I just think that Ohio State, you just don't see them attack the field, and that's what's kind of interesting. He talks about wanting to be a deep shot team. They hit the one to KJ Hill, looked like a really bad coverage break by Northwestern, that he somehow drifted open going deep. And so I don't know. I mean, it's just so hit or miss. I mean, one week it's great, and the next week it's suspect, and there's no consistency involved in it. The pass protection, by and large, has been very good, other than the 6 sacks that they gave up against Penn State. It seems like in recent weeks it's become the swing pass offense where they throw the ball to the backs coming out of the backfield, and that's kind of where they kind of put their bread and butter, I guess. But it would be nice if they incorporated more KJ Hill. I think he's starting to come into his own. And beyond that, I mean, Noah Brown had 5 catches this past week, which was good. Paris Campbell made a couple of nice plays here and there. I don't know. For all the talent and, all the excitement that should be there with this offense with so many supposed playmakers, they just don't make a lot of plays. And that's why you're now in dogfight games with Penn State and Northwestern.
Yeah, Buckeyes, I mean, they were favored by 26 points against Northwestern. They win by 4. I know after the game, Ed Warinner came out and talked to reporters. I know it was an interesting conversation with Ed Warinner. Tell the listeners about that, Steve.
Well, I think that what people were asking it about, they scored 17 points on their first 3 possessions and then had to punt the next 5 times they had the ball. And as I added up the yards and the number of plays, they averaged about 3 yards a play in those 5 possessions. And I think people were anxious to ask Ed, particularly, that they were lustfully booed when it was 3rd down and 6 and they ran the option play and got stuffed, for another loss, and you're just sitting there scratching your head like, is this the Michigan State game all over again with the play calling? Luckily for them, they did hit that pass to KJ Hill late, and that set up the touchdown by Curtis Samuel to win it. But you sit there with Ed, and Ed's like, we want to have balance. We had 200 rushing, 230 passing. You were 10 of 17 on 3rd down. You didn't turn it over. He ticks off this whole checklist of things that you'd say ordinarily, yeah, you had a pretty good day offensively, but it just didn't look and feel very good. So, you kept Northwestern in the game until the 60th minute. So, I don't know. I think that it doesn't pass the eyeball test, if you ask me. But numbers are what they are, I guess. And you can twist numbers to say anything you want sometimes. And I think I would invite people to go back and watch that full interview that I had with Ed Warinner. It was interesting to say the least.
Yeah, make sure you check that out. It's still on our website, so make sure you check out Steve's video interview with Ed Warinner. And speaking of post-game interviews after the Northwestern game, Urban Meyer got a little testy. I think usually he tries, even if somebody asks a question he doesn't like, he's usually pretty cordial about it. And it's very rare that he kind of snaps back at the media. There was a question about the use of Curtis Samuel, and reporters said, he's become more of a, an H-back and less of a running back. And Urban stopped in his tracks. Do you even know what an H-back is? I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, he's starting to get sick of us asking, what the heck is wrong with this offense, basically. That was, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I found it almost kind of funny, though, that he was like, do you even know what an H-back does? Just your thoughts on Urban's post-game presser.
Yeah, he got a little defensive, and I think in his defense, I would say that it is extremely difficult to win a Big Ten game, even though he makes it look easy. I mean, he's 34-2 or something like that in Big Ten regular season games. He makes it look so simple that you think it is simple, but it's not simple. And that's the thing. I think he knows that, how the hard work that the team puts into this, and, you win, you beat, again, I think Northwestern right now, I wouldn't say they're a top 25 team the way that they're playing, but, they're certainly in the next 10 or 15 nationally as of today, not counting the 2 losses to start the season, but how they're playing today, they're right there. I mean, they won at Michigan State, they won at Iowa, so they've done some good things. And so, Urban is sitting there saying, well, we just beat a pretty good team, and did we play our best game? No, but I'm going to enjoy this, and they weren't going to let him enjoy it. So, it was just some tough questions, the same questions he keeps hearing over and over. What's wrong with the offense? Is this what you want with Curtis Samuel? Which by all accounts was much better, 7 rushes, 7 catches. I think that they were happier that Curtis was much more involved this week. So we'll see how he responds today. Obviously, another tough opponent coming in. Nebraska, they were a little bit of fool's gold because they hadn't really played anybody till they played Wisconsin. But they did take Wisconsin to overtime, and, they're a quality opponent. So I guess we'll see, and the pollsters thought so too. They didn't move them down very far, maybe from 7 down to 11 or thereabouts. So another tough opponent coming in, and we'll see how the coach responds today.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we'll chat with Urban Meyer today, 11:45 a.m. Should be very interesting. And you also brought up big game this Saturday against Nebraska. Ohio State hosting the game, 8 p.m. It's going to be fun. What I find interesting here, the spread opened at 16.5 points. Ohio State favored, of course. Man, it's already dropped. 24 hours later, it's already dropped 2.5 points. The money's all going toward Nebraska, and I can understand why. The spread has already dropped from 16.5 to 14. So you usually don't see a 2.5 point change that quickly. Just your thoughts on the spread changing and just Ohio State's game against Nebraska in general.
I think the Sharps are hammering what they see as an easy money win, because Ohio State right now, say whatever you want, say whatever you will, they're just not the juggernaut that they were back in September. So, to my way of thinking, this is probably a 10 to 14 point game. And, I don't know. I just want to see Ohio State play, is it too much to ask for dominating? I don't think that you necessarily need to do that, but have some game control. And that's one of the old statements ESPN kind of brings up now and then, game control. Well, Ohio State really didn't have a whole lot of that against Northwestern. So, if you're going to let these teams play with you till the end, then that explains kind of what we're seeing right now.
No doubt about it. Great stuff as always out of Steve Helwagen. Really appreciate it, Steve, and I also appreciate the listeners out there for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.